Welcome to Manga Machinations! This is episode number 489, and this week we're doing a triple dip.
Hello, it's me, Dark Fox 8.
And Morgana.
Hi there.
Hello, everybody!
I'm sorry. I gotta stop. I literally can't hear Dagazu at all. People watching the stream will probably be able to hear what I'm hearing, but it's like I hear the first word and then it just cuts out. We're having extreme technical difficulties to the point where I might just have to stop the stream today because I can't even hear Dagazu. I hear Morgana fine. It's something about the Dagazu and I connection, but it's definitely on my side.
Yep, that's not good if you can't hear what I'm saying on an audio podcast.
Okay, I heard all of that.
Okay. Well, let's continue as normal for now. But if it keeps happening and you just can't follow, you're gonna have to just let us know, and we'll just take the YouTube stream down for now, and hopefully that'll fix things. Did you hear all that?
Yep, I heard all that.
Okay. Gonna constantly have to check.
I'm gonna wiggle my nose every time I hear it.
It's like one of those old, was it Verizon commercials?
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? Pardon me while I date myself.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. I was mentioning Girls' Day, which is March 3rd, because it's my birthday.
It's your birthday? That's crazy.
It is.
Wait, today's the 2nd, though, right? Yes.
Tomorrow, yeah. It's tomorrow.
Okay.
Oh, this podcast will be published on the 3rd, so
Okay.
Yeah.
a lot of audio listeners will hear this past whatever my birthday is supposed to be, so yeah.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday. That's really funny because I've come to learn that there's a lot of March, specifically like March 3rd and March 4th birthdays around me. Like, I think 4 coworkers all have like March 3rd birthdays, and there's like one more that has a March 4th birthday.
That's a lot.
And then there's 2 more that have like in 2 or 3 weeks, like end of March birthdays. It's a weird situation.
That's fascinating, because I think September is the most common month to have a birthday, because everybody's parents were on vacation for Christmas, so they got busy, and 9 months later had babies.
It was also my birthday, so people were like celebrating Dark Fox. Let's get jiggy with it.
Yeah, there you go. March though, I'm April 4th, and my husband is September 2nd. He's 2. My daughter's February 3rd, 3, and then I'm April 4th, 4. And I was like, oh man, I hope my son is born like the 1st or the 5th, and we can kind of keep it in line. He's the 19th of June, just like way out there. Cool, it's fine.
Yep. I'm old.
You're wise. You're vintage.
I'm debating whether to say something really dark, which is the immediate thought I had at the top of the week when I was like, oh yeah, my birthday's coming up. I won't say it. It's too dark for the podcast.
I worry now.
Listeners, imagine the darkest thing you could think of, and that's what Axel said.
Yeah, something like that. A morbid joke, if you will.
Getting old is such a gift. I always feel like it's better than the alternative.
Getting young?
No, not getting old. Which implies death.
Yeah, I mean, it's more fun because you're more wise, like you said, Morgana. But let me tell you, when you hit your 40s, your body seriously starts breaking down.
Oh, trust me. I mean, mine has already started.
Oh, it's gonna get so much worse in your 40s, let me let you know.
Listen, my postpartum body is a train wreck. But yeah, no, I bet. I mean, it's just, that's the thing. If you can keep your health as you get old, that's really the best. That's not always an option.
Yep.
Do you know who Pirated Software is?
Is it a YouTuber or something?
He's a YouTuber. Yeah, he's worked at Blizzard for like a long time, and he worked in infosec a lot. You know, like training people on how to fall for like phishing scams and preventing hackers and stuff like that. And now he's a YouTuber that, but he blew up big. If you look at YouTube Shorts, you've probably seen him because for somehow he gamed the algorithm and he just figured it out, and he just blew up big. And like out of nowhere, like his video started showing up for everybody, and he's a pretty popular creator right now. He's genuinely like a pretty smart person, and he says like pretty entertaining stuff, and he has interesting anecdotes about working at Blizzard and how they were overworked and how fucked up it was over there. But the reason I bring him up because I could only assume that he was trying to explain this to like the kids in his chat, because all YouTubers have a huge contingent of like young people watching them. Um, the way he explained it was that like once you're like over 25, you have to download mandatory DLC every year, and it's always like a bad thing, like neck pain or lower back pain, or like you can't go to sleep that easily anymore. And it's just like
Yeah.
it was really funny to me how he was trying to just explain this to young people in like predatory video game practice terms, and I just thought it was funny.
So true though. I like fell asleep for a short nap on the couch this afternoon, and getting up off the couch was, I mean, it was a painful and noisy affair.
Yeah.
You better be careful, Morgana. You're gonna be like me, and just getting out of bed, you're gonna throw your back out, or throw your knee out, or throw your
Oh,
hip
trust
out.
me, I'm there. I've always had back problems, and like I said, postpartum, after you have babies, your body's weird, and then through the night anymore because I have children. It's like yeah. Aging is nice. Getting older is nice. The body, the slow decay is maybe could could maybe be improved upon.
Well, one day we will just upload ourselves into like chassis and leave our
There you go.
meat sacks behind.
While you guys talk, I just kicked like my chair with my heel, and it fucking hurts. God damn it. Ah. Okay, while I deal with this pain, let's move along. Ow. We have an email this week from Tyler from Germany titled Influence. Let me read it. Ow. Is there any series or something that has influenced you in any way, like creative or this what a series or character should be to you? Example, Shaman King, Naruto, and Aka 13 are my influence. Went I made a character in my D&D world I've made in my free time. One of my favorite artists I like is very influenced by old art style of Studio Trigger. If listener wants share there, join the Discord or YouTube comment. Ooh, damn, the smarts. Thank you for your email, Tyler. Influence.
I feel like we answered something similar to this recently, or I'm just thinking about why I talked about Trigun being a big influence for me.
Last week we did the email about realizations from Christmas
It wasn't
Canada.
last week because Morgana was here. I forget why I said it, but I basically said like Trigun came along at the right time, that made me left turn from being like an edgelord into like a simp, essentially, or something along those lines.
I do remember this,
Why,
yeah.
why were we having that conversation? It's almost like basically I have the same answer of whatever my answer was to that question, whatever that question was.
I think it was Cliff's question about influential anime or the things that
Oh,
influence you
right,
really.
right. Okay.
Oh, so is he just asking manga specifically, or did he just
He's-
ask the same
He's
questions?
specifically talking about characters, right? Like which characters are.
Oh, okay. Well, in that case, Vash Stampede.
Like what this is what a character should be. I don't know. Yeah, I mean,
I actually don't take influence from. I don't think manga and anime so much when I'm doing any kind of creative character. But I always make the same character for the last like more than a decade. any kind of video game. It is Valicia Windrider. And she started out as a cleric in Neverwinter. That MMO. You remember that old ass MMO, Dark Fox?
Yeah, I never played it, but I remember it being kind of popular.
That was before I moved to Hawaii, and ever since, like, anytime I can make a character, I make it like modeled after that character. It's a female character with a ponytail and red hair and red eyes. That's usually my go-to. Like, whenever you have like make your own character when you're playing this video game, like that's what I'm making.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just gonna say I don't know that I have like a specific thing that I don't have one specific creator or manga or anime that influenced this, but I definitely have types of characters that I create, whether it's, for fiction or for for like video games or things like that. For female characters, I tend to like I mean this is like the most obvious fucking answer. I'm like an open book, you guys. I like tough girl characters and I like sad boy characters. Some of them, most of them have white hair. Like, I don't know, tragic backstories. I don't really, I mean, like, there are a lot of things that have influenced this. I think probably anime and manga and video games of the late 90s and early 2000s are kind of all to blame for some of this.
All male characters are modeled after Vincent from Final Fantasy VII.
Or Bakura, yeah, basically. They all have long hair. All the male characters definitely have long hair. Female characters, they could have short hair. My like characters that I make in Pokemon, now that you can make female characters, they always have like short little like silver bobbed haircuts, big glasses, like I don't know. I'm not it's not that I'm not creative, but I'm not I like what I like.
I suppose in that sense, Darfox might be the one with the most eclectic taste here.
Well, as far as talking about creative characters and stuff like that, I usually try and make myself, mostly just because I'm big and I'm always curious how video games handle big characters. It usually handles it like really bad. Like it usually breaks the character model to like make them like fat or big or anything like that. They look weird and malformed or something. Like the Street Fighter game that came out, Street Fighter 6. In the story mode, it's a big part of you make your own character and you meet the fighters and you learn their style. So I made like a big guy, and then I chose the Chun Li style. One, because I wanted to learn her, and two, she's a pretty early like character you meet. So they kind of like copy paste the Chun Li movements onto whatever your creator character is. So then like my big guy's doing like all of these like kind of dainty feminine poses, which is really like funny looking. It's like it's clearly like breaking kind of the model a little bit sometimes, but like that's just how I played the whole game, and I really like it.
I remember that character. It was a good time. What did I do in Street Fighter 6? Oh yeah, I made Takamura from Hajime no Ippo.
Yes.
That was also a good time. I should play Street Fighter 6 again now that they added the boxing character.
I actually did play it a few days ago, but I haven't finished the World Tour mode, so I played more of that.
Okay, I think we'll move along from this email then. Thank you, Tyler, for sending it. You can send those emails over to mangamachinations@gmail.com, and we will get to reading them. Okay, let's move along to some What You Been Reading next. Morgana, you were away for a week doing your job. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I could tell you about that. So I went to Comics Pro annual conference, and what this is, so Comics Pro is an organization that, for those of you familiar with books, it's kind of like the American Booksellers Association. It's a group of comic shop retailers in I think it's all North America, US and Canada. Actually, no, there are retailers from other countries. I think we've got like New Zealand, a couple other places. Um, but it's a created by comic shop owners, and all the members are comic shop owners, and it is a an opportunity for them to all come together and kind of learn what publishers are up to, what their new stuff is coming up, how they're working with um, comic shops are a very particular marketing stream, right? The direct market is a very specific kind of thing. They mostly get their books through different vendors than traditional booksellers, although that's changing a lot too. They have particular concerns that other indie bookstores maybe don't have. So it's an opportunity for publishers to come and talk directly to retailers. Sorry, I'm being interrupted.
Oh.
As long as it's not me falling out there in it.
No, you're good.
I was like, what's going on?
So it's an opportunity for publishers to come and talk with retailers, kind of one-on-one, tell them like, here's why you should be stocking some of our stuff. Here's what's doing well. This is my first time doing it in person as a publisher. I went to it several times in the past as a retailer. And it is really gratifying that this time around, when I spoke with retailers about manga and Korean comics, most of them said either they were interested in expanding their manga's doing well for them, or they have already expanded their manga sections in their stores. When I came to this event as a retailer in the past, there was so much reluctance to get into manga for a lot of comic shops. And I don't necessarily blame them. There were a lot of factors involved with that, but a lot of it is just they didn't want to try. They'd been burned before by the bubble burst, and they just didn't want to take the chance. Now they can't really deny that it's a major source of of income for a lot of them. We at Yen we publish Solo Leveling, which is really big right now because of the anime adaptation, and retailers would come and I'd hold up Solo Leveling, they'd be like, yes, that's doing really well for us, and it's like, that's great. I'd hold up Delicious in Dungeon, and many of them also recognize that because there's the Netflix anime, and that's doing really well for them too. So it was really gratifying to kind of be here at a time when manga is doing well. It's I think if you read any articles about kind of the publishing side of things, manga is not doing as well as it was like in 2021. But 2021 or 2022 rather was kind of unprecedented, and we're still doing fine. Like manga's doing well. It is not hitting those high numbers that it was, but it is still really consistent. And I don't know. It's an exciting time to be in the industry. It's an exciting time to kind of see this, on differently. See it on the comic shop level, see it in the bookstore level, see it in libraries. And how they all kind of are these are different markets that have different clientele in a lot of ways. So yeah, I get really nerdy and excited. I also saw like a bunch of people I love and have not seen in a long time, so that was really fun.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's even some who live seen in years. Like the current manager of Comicopia, who I haven't seen since November. It's like, hey, Dan, nice to see you here in Pittsburgh. But yeah, no, it's I love Comics Pro. I always loved going. There is no Diamond Retailer Summit anymore. They did have one for a little while, and they kind of got rid of it. Comics Pro is what the comics industry has for something like this, and DC and Marvel also showed up, though they don't have as large a presence as some of the smaller publishers. But yeah, they've also, retailers also talked about this is like super inside baseball, but like standardizing metadata or, for their POS systems and things like that. It just like there are multiple channels that retailers can order from now. It's not just Diamond anymore. There are other distributors, so there has to be some standards made, and that's a whole big project that they're working on. Yeah, I mean, this is like my super nerdy exciting time that I had, and I could talk about it for a long time, but suffice to say, it was a good time. Um, I was reminded that I mean, not that I necessarily need to be reminded, but I was reminded that I really love my job, and I'm glad to be doing it, and I enjoy doing this from the publisher side more than the retailer side. I learned about myself.
Thank you.
Yeah, there are things I really love and miss about retail, but I do think that for my position, I really want to make sure that the people who can get manga out into people's hands are understanding what manga is, and that's really my job is like, this is what we have, this is what you want to get, this is how we pass this on to other, to readers. Um, yeah,
Morgana is a manga ambassador.
yeah, that's like the dream, right? I want everybody to read good manga, that's all. We talked up the summer Hikaru died a bunch too, which was a lot of fun. I actually had a retailer, as I was talking about it, she goes, "I love the way you're telling me about all these books, like, I can tell you really love them." And I was like, "Yeah, that's the point, like, I'm a salesperson, yeah, but, like, I care about the books." Like, that's, I don't know that that's I think in comics you have that more often in general, but, like, I'm not just a salesman, right? Like, I'm not just here to like, "Oh, yeah, you gotta get, the next big thing." Like, I read these things, I care about these things, and most of the people, who work in comics, it's not like we're working in it for the money, you guys, tell you that.
Is it your first time going to Pittsburgh?
Yes, it was my first time in Pittsburgh. I did not get to see very much of it, I was mostly in the hotel, but
Pittsburgh's pretty nice.
yeah, I think, I always wish that Comics Pro would come to, like, Boston because 'cause that'd be super easy for me, but Boston's a very expensive city.
Hmm.
Pittsburgh is nice and not too expensive. Had a really good dinner. We went to a Japanese restaurant called Yuzu Kitchen. Really, really nice ramen. So really good cocktail too.
I have a story about Pittsburgh.
Oh,
So I went when I think I was sophomore in college. So maybe around 2021-ish. There was music education. A bunch of us took a car, drove down from New Jersey. The one and only time I went to a club, I got grinded on. It will be the first and last time it ever happens. Everyone was giving me shit about it afterwards too. It's pretty good. That's
Yeah, Comics Pro.
very nice. I know you were busy with that, but did you read any manga?
No.
Had to read this stuff for this week though.
Yeah, I did, and I I had an impulse buy at the airport on my way back. I bought a middle grade novel, and read that instead. It reminded me. It looked like it was giving me Series of Unfortunate Events vibes, and I was like, "Damn, they got me." So I bought this kid's book and read that instead. It was very good.
Very nice. Dar, you must have something. Morgana, can you hear Dar?
I cannot.
Okay.
Oh, that's my fault. I was muted.
That will do it.
Yeah, Yeah. So I got a couple things I want to talk about. But before I get to the main thing, I want to talk about that I did go to a comic shop. You're talking about comic shops, and I went there yesterday specifically to play like trivia games and like board games with some like friends and work friends, which is not something I've done a lot of before. But let me tell you, it is nice because it is free. You don't have to like go to a restaurant and like buy a meal to hang out with your friends. Like you have like a tabletop stuff you can do, which obviously get expensive if you're actually buying the games and stuff like that. Um, but the shop we went to had games available, and this is like super old news for anybody who's ever like gone to a lot of comic shops, but I actually haven't. I'm not like a big comic shop person. I could probably count to you all the comic shops I've been to with like both my hands, right? Um, would the Comicopia have like tabletop stuff available, or was it just like books?
No, we never were successful with stuff like that. For us, it was really books, and we, again, we had not. They do still have a reputation for having a lot of manga. We didn't even do like figures or anything like that. Didn't have a ton of like kids graphic novels because comic to Boston University and Boston College, so a lot of and Berkeley, so a lot of college students would come around. So that was kind of that and like the old guard, dudes who are buying their Marvel and DC
Mm-hmm.
comics. They're kind of the bread and butter.
Wednesday Warriors.
But no, we didn't do a whole, but we did sell Magic cards. We sold Pokemon cards and things like that, but we didn't have a whole lot of like games. But that is, one of the things that a lot of people are talking about because single issue comics aren't doing so hot, kind of across the board, and a lot of shops are diversifying their product, and games, tabletop games, and other kinds of board games and card games are one of the avenues that some shops are taking, and some have always done it, focusing on it more as single issues are becoming less of their bread and butter.
Yeah, I like the logistics of that is actually kind of mind-boggling to me. Like how people could actually like transition and kind of lean on something else. Like the shop that I was at was pretty diversified, meaning they had figures, they had kind of like a board game um section. It was a pretty big section, and that had stuff mixed in like figurines and Dungeons and Dragons stuff was like in that corner as well. But there was also Gunpla, which is fun to look at. They have some really nice big models that are like very expensive. And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna look at that one. And before the podcast, we are actually talking about birthdays, and I like I learned that one of my coworkers' birthday is literally Monday, so I just bought him like a Zorro figurine on the spot, which was handy. Because I'm not gonna see you before then, so here, have this. Happy birthday. But yeah, like the shop at my or my initial reaction to the manga in the shop I was very disappointed because it had one shelf, a pretty small shelf. But I was mistaken. It actually has multiple shelves, but it's like broken up by the entrance to the game room, um, where they have the table set up for like Magic the Gathering or whatever the hell you want to play. So yeah, it's a pretty decent showing in this shop. But then again, like I said, this shop is pretty diversified. It has a little bit of everything, and it's been around for a while. So it's been I think it's successful in what it does. It makes enough in all those sections. Um, but yeah, it's pretty fun to just be able to hang out with friends and play the games and not have to spend money because uh, stuff gets expensive really quick. I did end up buying like a Trivia Pursuit, like a new version of Trivia Pursuit, because the last time we played, we were using the board games they had available, and they had like a 1997 edition of Trivia Pursuit. So it was really weird playing that because like it had very topical to 1990s like
Right.
events. It was fun in its own way. Like one of the questions was, what is the most expensive McDonald's burger that failed or something like that. And I was like, what could that be? I wonder what it is. And apparently it was called like the Dutch Royale or something like that. And it's just like this famous marketing campaign they had for this new burger that just totally bombed and they lost a lot of money on. But I had never heard of it. I mean, I'm like an 90s kid, but I never heard of it. So it was fun in its own way. But yeah, it's I'm probably gonna be doing more of that. I don't know how much I'll talk about on the podcast because it's not really manga specific. But yeah, it's pretty fun to just go and well, it's also kind of weird to just go and share the room with a bunch of Magic the Gathering players, and we're in one corner like playing trivia games and stuff like that, and just like hanging out. Um, I kind of feel like we're bothering them because they're like doing this tournament and they're like, all right, listen up, Jimmy's gonna fight so and they're trying to set up their tournament and we're in the corner just like being loud playing Uno or something. Um,
No,
but
but and this is something that I've been thinking about. One of the nice things about comic shops is that you have things like this that foster community. Um, there's a lot of talk about how it's really hard to compete with online shopping. Most people get it on Amazon, right? And but there's Barnes and Noble, there's other big box stores, there's Crunchyroll store, whatever. Um, but one of the things that physical brick and mortar stores have is that kind of ability to bring people together and to be kind of a part of their community. And I think that comic shops do try to do that with events. The event is also hopefully people will come here and play games and then also buy stuff, right? They got to pay their rent. But I do think kind of in the long run, it pays off to be a place that people know about and that they go to because, you don't buy anything this week, but you remember what they have, and maybe you do need to buy a gift for somebody, or maybe you have there's a book that you need to get. You're going to go there, right? And you think about, when you think about where you can go and pick something up quick, because you know what they have now. So
yeah.
yeah, it's cool. I like, we used to do so the Boston area has quite a few shops. There's a really great one technically in Somerville, called Kamikaze, and these were friends of ours, and they used to, I want to say every September, they did this trivia for all the comic shops in the area to come. It was a comics trivia geared toward retailers. Money for charity. So we write a big check. It goes to charity, and we all play trivia. And they Kamikaze is a store that does a lot of events. They have magic drafts, and they have trivia for all other things. They hold book clubs and all these. They're that kind of store. They buy collections. They have a bunch of figures. They do kind of everything. They're a staple of Somerville, and they're really great. A lot of great people there. I saw some of them at Comics Pro, and I was like, "Hey, I haven't seen you in a long time, even though you're very close to me." Yeah, they're very much part of their community, and they they do a lot of that kind of outreach. So I really think that, like, I don't know, I love that kind of thing. I love that nerds can come together and there's a place for them to go and enjoy each other, and then support local businesses.
Or not enjoy each other, then just ignore them and do your own thing.
As long as you're supporting local business, I don't care.
Yeah.
Buy a floppy. Come on, pay $3.99. Because, by the way, single issues are really friggin' expensive now.
Well, one of I didn't mean to make this much of a tangent, but I want to mention now. One of my coworkers who's she's really I don't work with her anymore. I worked with her, I trained her, and she went off, got promoted somewhere else in the company, which is super cool, super proud. But like, she's pretty young, like not like super young, but she's like in her 20s. She's like, I think she's 9 years younger than me. Um, I know this because while we were at the shop, she got really excited when she saw a Haikyuu figure. And I was like, oh, I don't know you like Haikyuu. And she was like, oh, yes, it got me through high school. And I was like, what the fuck? Like, what did you... I was like, how could this be? And I just realized, like, that was out while she was in high school. But,
Yeah, your those bad knees starting to act up again, like Daka was saying.
Yeah.
Uh
Jeez.
huh.
But I was surprised that like she collects a lot of comics. Like for no reason, I just didn't expect her to. I guess I was stereotyping. I was kind of feel like that she wouldn't be in a demographic that cared, but she's way into like the arts and the covers, right? She was going through the floppies and picking out covers, the variant covers that she
Mm-hmm.
wanted. And for me, for the longest time, that was kind of antithetical to like a manga fan because for me manga has I mean manga it's not that crazy because manga a big part of manga is the art obviously, um but also like the art you get on the cover does represent the art you get in the book for the most part. It might be
Right.
colored, it might be like gussied up a little bit, but with comics that's one of the famous things people like to criticize about comics is you might get a variant artist that did not touch the innards of the book at all. So it's a completely different art style from what's on the cover than what's in the book. But she didn't care. She was collected them because she liked the covers, and she was trying to get the I forget what it's called, but like there's this series of DC nightmare books where the characters get sucked into the like nightmares. So like they're like horror themed covers that look pretty cool. And she's like collecting all of them that she could. Um, so that's something I learned about her that I did not expect. Um, but yeah, I mean, comic people come. I knew she liked manga basically, so I just assumed that she was a manga person, kind of exclusively when it came to sequential art, and she didn't really care about comics. But that's a foolish assumption to make, obviously.
Yeah, I have been very vocally critical of variants, and I do think there are too many variants. I think this is something that is a big problem. Um, that said, I have definitely bought variant covers of things because I liked the cover. I have a Harley Quinn comic that I read it and it was pretty good, but I got it because it was a Yoshitaka Amano cover. Like, let's be
I remember
honest.
Okay.
this.
Oh, it's so beautiful. And I've gotten covers that are Junko Mizuno covers. And a lot of the covers I get are Japanese artists. But usually when I buy those, that's the one cover that I buy. I don't buy them. I don't. Some people buy the regular cover and then they'll buy the one to collect. But I only buy one, and I don't like slab it and grade it or anything like that. I just have it because I like it. Um, I don't necessarily think there's a problem with that. My problem, more than the cover being different than the interior, is the interior art is changing issue to issue. Unless it is like a conceit of the story itself, which is fine by me. Kind of like, have you seen the Imaginarium of Dr. Parnassus?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, then this isn't going to make a whole lot of sense, but there's a character in it who was originally played by Heath Ledger, and Heath died in the midst of filming.
Uh,
So in the story, they ended up having the character change his face twice, so he's also played by Jude Law and he's also played by Johnny Depp.
Wow.
So like that is a conceit of the story, right? Like I'm okay with
mhm.
that. Like
Yeah.
and in the same way, I'm okay with that in like a comic if it's an artistic choice to change artists between chapters or between issues. I think that could be interesting, but I get really mad about it if it's just we didn't want to pay this artist or something like, we couldn't work with this artist and we're moving on. So yeah, I have mixed feelings about that.
I 100% agree. Um, but yeah, speaking of trivia, if you don't mind me moving on, I
Oh shit! I forgot about
I
this.
have a little treat
Oh
for
no!
I have a little treat for my co-host and
Seamus is so smart to skip out
the
this week.
listenership. Seamus would not have phased them at all. I mentioned that I bought like Trivia Pursuit, and somebody mentioned to me that I should buy like an anime trivia game just to like fuck with the people I hang out with who don't watch anime. So like I wonder if that exists, and I looked for it, and I didn't find a trivia game, but I found a trivia book. So I bought Black Ramen Anime Trivia Challenge. This is a pretty recent production. It came out in November, so it's kind of up to date as far as like anime goes. But it covers like a wide gamut of it, and it's actually based off of or is created by another podcast. So I'm actually advertising another podcast called Black Ramen Podcast, which I don't know them too well, but they did a pretty neat book. So kudos to them. How did they get scratched? I just had it here next to me. All right, never mind. So the way this book works, and I'm not super familiar with trivia books, but the first half is trivia, and the second half is the answer. So I'm just gonna skip the second half because I will be the answer master, and I will ask each of you questions. Okay.
Love
So
it.
I hope you have your trivia caps on.
I hope you are going to ask us questions about anime from the mid 90s to the mid 2000s because that's the only shit I'm going to know.
Ho ho ho. Okay. This will probably play better in the audio form because it will probably take me 30 seconds to find a question each time. Oh, first question. This is pretty fun. I guess I'll just ask the both of you and just don't bother buzzing in. Just anybody who has the answer, go ahead and answer it. In what order did Sailor Moon meet her fellow Sailor Scouts?
I know the answer to this.
I know the answer to this.
Okay.
All right.
Should we
Go ahead, Morgana.
All right. So Mercury,
Mm-hmm.
Mars,
Yep.
Jupiter,
Yep.
Venus.
Yep.
Correct. Okay.
I'm glad it doesn't go into the
Yeah,
other
I was
ones.
gonna say, wait a second.
No.
Outer Senshi, I'm a little less confident.
It doesn't do the auto senshi. Okay. This is pretty fun. Who has the most swords? A. Zoro. B. Killer B. C. Kirito from Sword Art Online. Or D. Urza Scarlet from Fairy Tail.
Who the hell was that second one?
Killer B from Naruto. Sorry, I wasn't saying
okay.
He is the Eight Tails.
Yeah, and he uses swords. Who has the most swords?
I mean, when you asked the question, my brain was like, it's Zoro. Even before you started listing things off, I was like, Zoro has the most swords. You could only use 3. I mean, what else can you use?
It's the girl from Fairy Tail.
It's the girl from Fairy Tail, Urza Scarlet. Does she summon them or something?
Yes.
Okay.
That's why it's her magic to like summon swords, and she has like a shit ton.
She has sword magic, so it's kind of cheating, but I think
cheating.
It's kind of, she uses the most swords of everybody.
Oh,
yeah.
Incidentally, speaking of Zoro, I didn't mention that my husband and I have watched a couple more episodes of the live action One Piece. Finally, we've watched 3 whole episodes now. It's great. We're having a lot of fun with it. And we were talking about, I was like, oh man, the casting is really out of the park. They did a good job. And my husband goes, okay, here's the thing. Zoro, Nami, they're great. The casting did great. Where the fuck did they find actual Luffy though? Like where did they dig him up? Because he just is
this gremlin of a man.
Right?
That's what Eiichiro Oda said about that. He was like, I didn't think it was possible because you couldn't find actual human Luffy. But they found him.
He's
Inaki.
amazing. Yeah, he's really great.
Morgana, speaking.
We are, our spare time is very limited, so we did watch a little bit more One Piece, and we're enjoying it very much. I told my husband we should check out Avatar as well, and he was like, "Okay, it looks good, but I also don't feel like I need it." And I'm like, "Well, we don't need the One Piece one either, so like." We've got
I want to hear your opinions.
I'm curious. Yeah, I am curious. Eventually, I think we will watch it. It may be like a year from now as we...
I was talking with Christine during Mahjong night, and she said I'm like the only person who said anything positive about it.
That's interesting. Okay. It looks... I mean, we watched the trailer. It looks really well done, so...
I think I rubbed up on Dakuzu and gave him some of my positivity.
No, I mean it just depends. We've had our episode on Yu Yu Hakusho. Our thoughts there, It just depends.
And I still feel like, in that and with Cowboy Bebop too, like I don't want to shit on them that much. Like, you know what I mean? Like I just feel like they're not great, they're not perfect, but I also like efforts were made. I don't know.
They got that Netflix money. Or sorry, Dar, you want to ask another question, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Which of the following is not a music-themed anime? Your Lie in April, March Comes In Like a Lion, Given, Your Boy Kongming.
March Comes In Like a Lion?
Yes, that is not a music-themed anime. I don't know what Given is.
That is...
Given is the BL...
yeah.
Yeah.
They're in a band.
That's
Mhm.
like a rock band.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Sounds cool. In episode 1 of One Piece anime, who is the first pirate captain Luffy encounters? I won't read the multiple choice because I feel like this might be easy.
Do you know this, Morgana?
The first one he encounters?
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Shanks is not the answer.
it's not. Oh,
Okay.
he's option D on here, but it's not the answer.
I
We're
can't
talking
remember.
about when he goes out to sea. So
Yeah.
now as a child.
Yeah,
Not-
I can't
yeah.
remember the name of the guy. Literally just watched the freaking live action.
It's
but-
not a guy.
Spoilers, it is Iron Mace Alvida.
Mm-hmm. Alvida.
The big
Oh,
girl?
Yes, Alvida.
Because he was in the barrel, right? The wheelbarrow?
Mhm.
Or not the water. What's
Saving
Mhm.
Kobe from that ship.
Some of these are really easy. Some of these I would not fucking be able to answer these.
Alright, give us a hard one.
Hard one, eh? Okay. Maybe Dogzo will get this one, but I would not know this one. The famed Battle of the Garbage Heap refers to a long-standing rivalry between which two sports team? And it has various sports teams from various anime. Want me to read out the multiple choice?
Yeah, because
Battle of the Garbage Heap. It's a Karasuno versus Nakema or Nakoma from Haikyuu. Teiko versus Seirin from Kokoro's Basket. Sohoko versus Kyoko Fushimi from Yomushi Pedal. And Daemon Devilbats versus Ojo White Knights from Eye Shield 21.
okay, so it's not Ice Shield.
No.
It's not Eye Shield.
It's not Kuroko's Basket.
It's not
Wait.
Kokoro's Basket.
My guess is it's Haikyuu.
Mm-hmm.
The correct answer is Haikyuu, yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Karasuno versus Nekoma.
It's because like Karasu is like crow and then Neko is cat.
Cats, yeah, so
So
they're
Battle of the Trash of Ground makes sense.
yeah.
I think I remember that vaguely from
Same.
Haikyuu anyway.
I read like I don't know 4 or 5 volumes of Haikyuu, and I vaguely recall this.
This is like a business question. As of 2022, Funimation was acquired by Crunchyroll, which is under the ownership of which media company?
Oh, I know this. Without you giving me the multiple choice.
Yes. Do you know this, Dagazu?
I think so.
They essentially have like an anime monopoly at this point.
Yeah.
Like they kind of own everything.
Is this Sony?
Yeah.
It's Sony. Yes.
Okay.
The answers were Disney, Kodansha, Viz, or Sony. Kind of interesting biz question there. All right, let me.
Funny
do a
that
let me do a couple
Funimation is
more.
now dead
I
as
know.
of right now.
I know. Well, that's what happens.
Maybe they
when-
should have had such a shitty player.
I know.
Well, it's probably just
I
mostly
joke,
because
of course.
redundancies.
Yeah, but
which-
also
which is
But
always-
also not about the shitty player. Their player was awful.
Yeah,
Atrocious.
to be fair, Crunchyroll is definitely better. Their app, but there are still improvements that could be made.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Crunchyroll has done a lot of improvements over the years, but it's always been improving, meaning it's always been like lacking. Like they've been trying to work at it, but okay. We'll do a couple more, and then we can move on. This one's kind of fun. I think this one will be easy, but I want to read it. Which of these animes take place primarily in America? Gunslinger Girl, Eye Shield 21, Banana Fish, or Birdie Wing?
Banana Fish.
Banana fish.
Banana Fish, yeah.
Although Ice Shield does have like an arc.
It has an arc, but it mostly takes place in Japan.
Where does Gunslinger Girl take place? I haven't actually seen that one.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, okay. I just remember the manga existing a million years ago. I never read it or watched it.
I feel like this trivia book would be better if it had like context for each answer or whatever.
Like a funner conversation.
Yeah,
for it.
like fun trivia to go with that. Because like this, like you listed the 4 anime, right? It could be like, oh yeah, Ice Shield has an arc in USA, but not the whole thing. Or like Banana Fish takes place in New York, like mostly in New York City.
So I'm only going to the multiple choice sections, but there are other sections. Like I'm going to show the camera this column where it's basically you have to write down the magazine where these series ran, which is a little more involved.
Oh, give it
And
to me.
it's well, I just showed you a bunch of answers on camera, but like it's a little harder to. Well, I guess I could just ask you, and you could say what I think it is.
Okay, ask away. I didn't really see it. Your camera isn't that sharp, and you didn't hold it up that clearly or that long.
Wow, thanks God, daggers to my heart. Oh. One Punch Man.
uh, One Punch Man runs in Tonai no Young Jump. Are you talking about like the
Is it the
Keisuke
Japanese
Inaki?
manga?
Yeah, Keisuke Inaki version. Because that's a website. Does it say Tonai no Young Jump?
I know it says Weekly Shonen Jump, so I think it's just talking about the Viz publication.
What? That's fucking wrong. Wait, what? Just because it runs in the app? Oh god, these answers are gonna be shit. Come on.
Okay, I'm actually kind of confused. Maybe I don't know the actual. Hold on.
If it's asking about like the English publication of some of these, then I'm probably not gonna get them then.
That I'd be more likely to get.
Okay, it's called Jump Runs the World. So let me actually go to the briefly. Let me go back to the beginning and find this section in like the actual.
Because it never ran in Weekly Shonen Jump, so that's like technically wrong, that answer. Not in like the Japanese magazine. Go ahead.
Okay, this is the section in the beginning. There are no manga publishers more iconic than Shonen Jump and Shueisha's other spin-off publications. They are the first that come to mind whenever a new action anime hits the streaming services. They are so famous, we even assume unaffiliated stories must have come from that magazine. But did they really? Test how well you know your manga makers. Which of the following 35 hit series are Jump titles and which are not? Okay, so is it a Jump property? Yes or
Is
no?
it a Shueisha property?
Yeah.
That's what the fucking answer should be. I guess Tonai no Young Jump counts as like Jump, but go ahead.
Yeah, so they're correct. They're just calling it Shonen Jump or Weekly Shonen Jump when
They shouldn't call it Weekly Shonen Jump though, because it's technically not Weekly Shonen Jump. There are other Jump magazines. There's fucking
All
Ultra
right, all
Jump.
right. We'll wait for the Manga Machinations trivia book. All right. It's coming
Jesus
up.
Christ.
All right, I'm back to it. My love
Okay.
story.
My love story is Bisut's Margaret.
That's what it says here. You got it.
Okay, good. I for a second I was like, I think Bisut's Margaret is Kodansha? Maybe it is Shueisha. Fuck, I don't know. I gotta look that up.
It's not in basically the Shonen Jump column.
It's
or,
Shueisha.
Or
It is
like,
Shueisha, okay.
or the other column. Overlord.
That is not Shueisha.
The
Correct.
manga,
I mean, the manga is yen, and so is the light novels
yeah,
yen.
the light novels are Kadokawa. The manga
Yes.
might be Square Enix though.
I haven't heard of this magazine they have here.
What is it?
Comp Ace.
That's a Kadokawa.
Kadokawa.
Magazine.
Okay. Parasite.
That's Kodansha. So that ran in Young magazine.
They have monthly afternoon.
Oh, it was afternoon. Okay, shit. But that is also Kodansha.
Tokyo Revengers.
That is Shonen magazine, Weekly Shonen magazine.
Correct. Kodansha. In parentheses. Is there another weekly shonen magazine? Because they clarified Kodansha for this one, but not anything else.
That's interesting. Maybe because like the name of the magazine is magazine.
Yeah, maybe. This one's interesting. Wotakoi. Maybe a trick question. This is semi-trick question.
It's Kodansha in the US. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's Kodansha.
It's not in Japan. Or maybe not originally. Want me to tell you what they have here?
What do they have?
They got Pixiv self-published.
Oh,
So-
that's right.
Oh,
Yeah.
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 So
It was on Pixiv first, and then it got like a book deal
That's a fun
officially. Okay.
one. Full Metal Alchemist.
That is Gun, so that is Square
Enix.
Yep, monthly
Which of-
Shonen Gangan.
Yep.
We published the digital at Yen, not the print. That's Viz.
Gun is Kadokawa, right? I think.
Gangan is.
Wait, is it Square Enix?
Yeah,
So-
it's Gangan Square Enix. At least
Yeah,
that's what I got
yeah.
here.
A lot of the there are a lot of Kadokawa light novels that the manga is published originally by Square Enix. So it's like a, and we publish a lot of them at Yen. I look at
It's confusing too because like now there's a Square Jump.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and now there's a Square Enix US branch
publisher as well. Mm-hmm.
And we publish some of their stuff, and they publish some of their stuff. So
yeah.
All right, a couple more. Akame ga Kill.
That is.
This is Kadokawa?
Yeah, it's either Kadokawa or Square
Wait,
Enix. Was
this Young Jump?
Not Young Jump.
It is Kadokawa. Like
I don't know the publisher, but it's not Young Magazine. It's not the magazine listed here.
What is it?
Monthly Gangan Joker.
Okay, so
Square
again,
Enix.
Square Enix, yeah.
Bungo Stray Dogs.
Well, that's
Kadokawa.
I think is it Ace or is it Comp?
It's Young Ace.
Okay, it's Young Ace. Okay, like another Kadokawa.
Durarara.
Also, Kadokawa, although I'm not sure which one.
Yeah. Is it Kadokawa or
They have
Square?
Square Enix. They have Square Enix.
Yeah, I think it's Square. So.
Oh, right. Fuck.
But we published that one too. this is very fun because I'm like, oh, it's one of ours, so it can only be like we do publish some Shogakukan, some Shueisha, but most of them are Kadokawa and Square Enix. So
it's like Viz handles almost all of Shueisha and a good chunk of Shogakukan now.
Mm-hmm.
But they also have
a smattering of a very few other.
Right, you have a Yomish Pedal,
yes,
which is also
Akita
Shoten.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Unomas.
One more.
Actually, no. Never mind. Hold on. Pokemon Adventures.
So that's published by Viz in English.
Is it Koro?
Yeah, I was hoping because it was like a baby manga that like it was Stomp You or something.
No,
Yes.
it's a baby manga, so it's gotta be Koro or Bonbon.
It's Koro Comics. Yes.
Congrats, I know my shit.
That's fun.
Yeah, that was probably the most fun. The other like anime ones weren't that interesting.
Because we're manga people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the magazines in any of them, but I was like, wait a second though, I know the parent company. Give me a second.
That's half the answer right there. So,
What does END stand for at the end of Fairy Tail? END.
what? Fuck, I don't remember Fairy Tail.
I read the end of Fairy Tail. No, I don't. It stands for Aetherius Natsu Dragneo. I don't know what that. I don't remember that at all.
Well, Natsu's the main character, so that was his real name reveal or something. I don't fucking remember Fairy Tail. That was so long ago.
What is a Kabedon? We will skip over that.
Kabedon?
Oh, that's when you lean. When a dude leans.
Kabedon.
Yeah, Kabedon. It makes your shoujo heart go doki doki, is what it does.
That's right.
What does the stand Hermit Purple do in the third arc of JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stardust Crusaders?
That is Joseph Joestars. So, what was the main thing? It would use a Polaroid camera to make pictures of the things far away or some shit.
Yes.
And it was also bind shit. You could use it as a whip.
Yes. Okay. With the assistance of technological devices like cameras, televisions, or radios, it can provide information on specific locations. So he could have it had psychic like prescient abilities, but it was also just a whip. Yeah, it was a viney whip.
Okay, I think we need to be done with the quiz.
Wait. In the Quasar of Stigmata, what does a Quasar need to use their powers?
What?
This is this is like kind of unhinged.
A quasar of stigma. I don't even know what anime or show that is.
Me neither. The answer is B, breast milk. It's probably not a anime that's in our wheelhouse. Going by that answer.
Not fit for human consumption.
All right, thank you very much. It's a fun thing. We might revisit this, but I think the funniest thing was the publisher thing, and I was kind of briefly looking, and I don't think there's any more of that. So I think we did all the publisher stuff.
The answer about One Piece being like Weekly Shonen Jump is still fucking grinding me.
Not
One Piece, One Punch Man, yeah.
Yeah.
Bruh.
Grinding your gears.
Okay. Well, thank you, Darfox, for your section, and thank you for contributing a lot. I have one thing to talk about, which is a book. I read a book, as in a book with words.
With words, no pictures?
No pictures.
Whoa.
The name of this book is Piano Man.
About
A
Billy
Blue
Joel?
Giant Yukinori story.
Oh.
A Billy Joel book?
No.
Biography?
This book just came out this week. It came out with the final 9th volume of Blue Giant Explorer, which ended Blue Giant Explorer, and the first volume of Blue Giant Momentum. Of Blue Giant Momentum. Blue Giant, of course, is the mega popular manga about Dai, the greatest jazz sax player in the world. Blue Giant follows his story in Japan. Then Blue Giant Supreme follows his story in Europe. In Blue Giant Explorer, he travels across America. And now he has ended his journey. And now in Blue Giant Momentum, he is in New York City. The Big Apple, Morgana.
Oh boy.
So I was a little annoyed because the last issue of Blue Giant Explorer they put out was last year, like last February, Morgana. I've been waiting over a year for like the next volume.
Mm-hmm.
But they did this last time when Supreme ended. They waited until they're ready to launch the first volume of the next series. So I picked up the final volume of Blue Giant Explorer. I also picked up the first volume of Blue Giant Momentum. And I picked up this novel, Piano Man. This novel, Morgana, follows the story of Yukinori, the piano player.
Uh-huh.
The one that you were like the snotty kid
That asshole.
that you had feelings about at the end of that series.
Just a few.
The book follows everything from when he was an infant, listening to the piano played by his mom, as a piano teacher. And it's 6 parts, and I just finished part 1 right before we started podcasting, which is about 100 pages. It's a 600-page book. I read fucking slow, so it's taking a long time. But yeah, the book it's gonna follow. I've reached the point where Yukinori is now in Tokyo, and so I believe this is going to coincide with the events inside the original Blue Giant, but told from Yukinori's perspective.
Interesting.
It's written by Namba Eito, or Number 8. That's his pen name. But this Number 8 is now, he was introduced as like the story help for Blue Giant Explorer, and now in Momentum, Number 8 has completely taken over the story aspects of Blue Giant.
Interesting.
Yeah, so now Shinichi Ichizuka is focusing more on the art and letting Number 8 do most of like the actual like story now, which I think is pretty neat. But I liked everything that happened in Explorer, so I expect everything that happens in Momentum to also be very good. As far as Piano Man goes, I don't know if I'll finish it by next week. I'll try. Like I said, I read fucking slow.
Well, 600 pages is a lot. Also,
It
like,
is.
it's dedication, man.
It's pretty interesting. They already I saw a nod to a minor character mentioned in Blue Giant Supreme show up here. There's also mention, I think, when Yukinori goes to talk to that jazz guitarist and asks him for like to be introduced to the Blue Giant people. He tells a story about like when he was in high school, his high school baseball team was trying to go to the the nationals, the Koshien, and they failed, and he didn't like laugh at their efforts. Kind of expands on that, like that. There's a member of that baseball team that ends up being like a friend of Yukinori as he grows up. They also mentioned like how Yukinori could see the sounds or perceive sounds as a newborn as colors, which I thought was pretty interesting. His mom is trying to teach him like do re mi on like the piano, and she's like, "See, it's the same on your toy keyboard." And he's like, "That's not the same. Why are you calling them the same?" Because he hears in timbre, not in actual pitch, which I thought was interesting. But then they mentioned that he has perfect pitch, and my eyes rolled. Because perfect pitch is a fucking lie, people. I don't know if I've had this rant, Darfox, but
I'm
perfect
not sure if
pitch.
you have either.
Okay, perfect pitch. I've met people who say they have perfect pitch, and maybe they think they have perfect pitch. I think they have perfect. I think they have relative pitch, which means you relatively understand where the pitch is. A lot of people have that. But perfect pitch, you know exactly what like note that is, what like frequency that is. The thing is, I've met multiple people who are like, I have perfect pitch. And then they sing. And the pitch is fucking wrong. Like, they might have and perceive perfect pitch, but they can't It always happens. So, if someone wants to write in and tell me how I'm wrong, be my guest. In my personal opinion, in my professional opinion, I've never seen someone who says they have perfect pitch create perfect pitch. So it's a little bit more specific in my case, but okay. Anyway, music rant over. Blue Giant is great. Momentum's great. Darfox pulled up a screen on the subway with a homeless guy named Peter. It's pretty wild. It's I want to read more Blue Giant. This book, Piano Man, is pretty good, but I need to finish the whole thing to get back to everybody about what it covers.
I think you're safe. I think there will always be more Blue Giant at this point. I don't think it's ever
At least
gonna
for a
end.
while, yeah.
I feel like we started in Tokyo, he left, he went to Europe. That was a fun adventure. He got to America, he traveled across like the States, which is very fun. I'm not going to reveal certain things about that because that's spoilers. And then now we're at Momentum. And Momentum has started pretty good. They're starting at rock bottom. Another one of those stories. But I'm looking forward to it. And looking forward to finishing Piano Man. So that's what I have this week. Okay, let's go ahead and end what you've been reading. And before we get to our main segment, which is a triple dip, let's talk about next week. Next week, we're going to do something a little different. Are we going to call this a manga in motion? Because technically it's a movie,
Yeah,
but it's not even animated. So I don't know what the fuck to call this. But hell, whatever. We're like approaching our 10-year anniversary.
Movie
500
machinations.
episodes. Yeah, 500 episodes incoming. We're gonna watch a movie called Tampopo. Morgana, this is a ramen western.
Sure is.
You love this movie.
Sure do. I told my husband that we're watching it for next week, and he was like, "Oh, baller!" So,
Well, Darfox, you've seen this.
Yes, I saw it sometime last year.
I think Seamus might have also seen it.
I think I asked him and he said no. So unless he looked it
Okay,
up or something
so
afterwards.
Seamus and I haven't seen this. I thought I did, but I haven't.
This should be fun.
I look forward to this.
It's a good artsy movie with a lot of heart about food.
I first had to watch this movie for a class in college, a comedy class, screen comedy, and we reviewed. We went over comedy from different time periods and different parts of the world, uh, and this one really stuck out as like one of my favorites.
Nice. Well, that's what we're watching for next week, and I don't know. Max. But you can find it at a bunch of places, so if you want to watch along, please do so. Tampaful for next week. Okay, let's take a quick break, and when we come back, it'll be time for our triple dip. Okay, everybody, we are back. For our main segment, we've got a triple dip of 3 different manga. We're looking at the first collection of each of them. For this triple dip, we have Don't Call It Mystery, Fool Night, and Steel of the Celestial Shadows. Pretty interesting group of manga we have here. Is Don't Call It Mystery, where does it run?
It's a josei.
Flowers magazine. Yeah, okay. So we have 1 josei and 2 seinen. I do have some written thoughts here from Seamus, who is not here. So I will mention them as we go. But Darfox, I'll let you pick first. What do you want to talk about?
Let's go for mystery.
Okay, we have Don't Call It Mystery, a manga by Yumi Tamura. Yumi Tamura is known for her series Basara, which is a epic shoujo fantasy that we read on this podcast. I believe Seamus has been reading more Yumi Tamura and more Basara.
Yeah, he said he was reading through Basara.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk about Don't Call It Mystery. The Japanese title is Mystery to Yu Nakare. Literally means Don't Call It Mystery. This manga started in 2017 and is still ongoing. It is published by Shogakukan and Flowers magazine. It is put out in English by 7 Seas. And these 7 Seas ones are 2-in-1 omnibuses. I never remember if it's omnibuses or omnibusai.
Oh.
Whatever.
Big ol' honkin' books.
Somebody correct me later. Let me get some of the localization credits here. Translation was handled by Carolyn Winzenreed. Lettering, Ayla Nagamine. Original cover design, Chisato and Baybird Studio. Cover design, H. Kui. Proofreader, Lehana de Ruin. Copy editor, B. Lillian Martin. I can stop right there. I'm butchering all those names. I always do. I apologize. 7 Seas always has the most credits. Good for them. But yeah, let's read the copy on 7 Seas. Also known as Do Not Say Mystery, a quirky, award-winning mystery manga from the shoujo powerhouse creator of Basara and 7 Seed inspired a live-action series and film. Ooh, I should look that up. Okay, Totono is a young college student who stands out, both for his bushy hairdo and his finely honed abilities of observation and deduction. When Totono is accused of murder, he puts his skills to work and uses his exceptional insight to find the real killer. All Totono wants to do is return to his own little world but he can't avoid getting caught up in one mystery after another. In his own blunt yet gentle way, Totono is a truth seeker who tries to make sense of a chaotic and often dangerous world. It's a pretty nice copy. Pretty nice copy. I like that. So yeah, just like the copy says, it starts with Totono being accused of murder. And then he has to get out of that. And he gets roped into a bus jacking. That's a bus hijacking, everybody. Get your minds out of the gutter. And yeah, and then he ends up taking a trip to Hiroshima, and he has a little fun episode on the bullet train. And when he gets to Hiroshima, he gets wrapped up into an inheritance battle, if you will, and that's where the omnibus ends. Darfox, you remember Bussa, don't you?
Yeah, not a lot of specifics.
Okay. What did you think of Don't Call It Mystery?
I liked it. It was definitely harder to get through just because it was like long and wordy, compared to the other ones we read, which were pretty breezy. But I like the vibe of it. I like he has that kind of like Sherlock Holmes minus the edginess, minus the like meanness or cruelness. He's kind of straightforward and matter of fact, and he no. Oh, one second. Let me switch over the screen. He's kind of matter of fact, and he's really perceptive, and he's telling people things they don't know about themselves and things that they uh you know don't realize, and a lot of it's pretty obvious, but I don't doubt that people don't in fact know this, and they go through life not knowing this stuff. But my very early example was when he was telling the detective that does the weird lick thing. He licks his upper lip. It always looks really
Ikemoto, the best character.
it always looks really weird. And the second time he did it, like the main character did it back to him, which I thought was funny. But the whole like, I take the garbage out. Like, well, do you take the garbage? Like, do you just physically take the final garbage bag out to the garbage disposal site, or do you actually like pull the garbage out of the garbage cans and separate, like the burnables and all the recyclables and all that stuff? And he's like, huh? He's like, I don't know that was a thing. So that stuff is pretty cute. I like all the character kind of interactions. I accepted early on that it's going to be a conceit that this guy's telling people obvious things about themselves and about their lives, but like I said, I'm sure these people do exist, and we all have blind spots like this.
Oh yeah, that guy. I've said this before. I'm very lucky. I'm in a relationship with a dude who's not a total ditz about these things. But I have definitely heard from a lot of women who, whose husbands don't really pull their weight, and I truly think in most otherwise good relationships, these men just aren't seeing the problem. They just don't know. They're just completely oblivious, and it's not because they're bad people. It's because they've never been made to think about these things before. So that for me was, I was like, that I'm sure there are dudes who could use this reminder.
What if I told you I'm not the one? Maybe it's my wife?
That's also,
I'm joking.
I am totally, no, I can be totally like ditzy about this stuff too. Like my husband takes care of a lot of domestic things, and sometimes when I stop and think about it, I'm like, wow, that's actually like a lot of work. I could maybe do some of that work. But I gave birth to the kids, so I've done my job. No, we do try to keep things as balanced as possible. It's there's always gonna be one partner who's pulling more weight, but it goes a long way to show your appreciation.
You pull one weight in one way, and you pull another weight in another way.
Mm-hmm.
You make it work.
But I think
together.
It's important to understand the work that you might not be doing. which is what this guy's
Yeah.
whole deal was. Like, oh, I took care of the garbage. She doesn't have to worry about it. Like, he took care of like kind of the easiest part of it. Um, I don't read a lot of mystery novels, so I assume this is a thing that's been done a billion times.
Yes.
But I like what so like um these well, like the big main stories being him being interrogated here, and also um the bus jacking ended up being kind of like the murderer is in the room kind of stories
Hmm.
without being an actual like lock the room, the murder is within us, we gotta figure out who it is. It just emerges like that. One of the detectives was like the actual killer, and he was trying to frame somebody else for it, and it came out through like multiple days of talking to these characters and him getting to know them and them getting to know themselves, and then it finally comes out. The bus jacking had like three twists in it, where like you know there were three culprits essentially, or four on that bus, and it's just like peeling back the layers, which I thought was fun. The fact that it had like the whole dynamic of like one of us is the culprit, but without the whole like classical Sherlock Holmes like, or you know, actually would it be Pierrot? Is it, like
Poirot.
what's the origin of like that whole like none of us is leaving tonight because one of us is the killer kind of thing. I'd be curious to know.
Yeah, I haven't read a lot of Holmes or Poirot, actually, believe it or not. I read a ton of stupid mysteries and consume a lot of mystery television. And I love it, but I feel like The Locked Room is a very Agatha Christie kind of conceit. She does a lot of tricky stuff like that. I've watched a bunch of Poirot. The series, the BBC series from the 90s. It's very good. It's very, very good. But yeah, I mean, these like tropes, these even this first story, like the way it pans out, I'm like this has happened before in mystery fiction, and the bus jacking too. There was, yeah, 3 million twists in that one. That was kind of bizarre. So this is, I will say, this is somebody who loves this book and loves mysteries in general. It's kind of silly. Like, this is a little bit silly. Um but I'm okay with it because it's very charming in a lot of ways. Totoro is very charming. Um, Also, there's, like, some gay shit happens, like, a little bit there in that bus jacking.
Yeah.
Just, a little bit of gay intrigue. Um, yeah, it's fun and weird and very different from Basara, which I also enjoyed, but for different reasons.
So it's nice when you see a creator do that.
Mhm.
Granted, this is many years like removed from Basra. Um, I think,
Yeah.
but like it's easy. I think it's really common for creators to just kind of keep doing the same thing over and over again because that's what they make successful at. But yeah, this is very different. But this also has like a very comfy like aspect to it, where
Mhm.
it's not like there is murder and there is some tragedy to it, but overall it's not like a super bad feeling book. It doesn't make you feel like oh shit, like humanity's fucked. It's mostly it's kind of cute in some ways.
And that's why I like reading mysteries. I like solving a puzzle, right? And I've said this before, and that's really what it is you're engaged with these quirky, charming characters to solve a puzzle. And I don't like super duper tame and cozy mysteries. Like, some of them are really stupid. Um, but this is like a good balance of, like, there's real threat there are real threats here. There's real, like, scary stuff going on, but also it's kind of wrapped in this, yeah, like, charming, cozy package.
Well, Morgana, I don't like mysteries, but I love this book.
Oh, good.
I'm a fan of Yumi Tamura. I think I told this to you, Dar, but the reason I read Basara was when I was going to Saturday Japanese school. One of the people going there, she was a fan of Yumi Tamura and had like Basara, so she would like exchange manga with us. She
Oh,
was lending us Basara to read, and she had a lot of other like Yumi Tamura manga. I just love Tamara's artwork.
Mm-hmm.
The
And it's
way
very
she draws
different.
characters.
It's very different here than Basara too. But yeah, she's just good at what she does. I was curious how you felt about the first story because it's a lot of talking heads.
It is a lot of talking heads, but as Star Fox mentioned, all the characters are very charming. And even though there is a lot of talking, and like Tamara admits this at like one of the end of the volumes, like, sorry about this. This could have been a play instead of a manga.
Yeah, definitely.
The charming characters. I love the art. The expressions are like, they seem like it's the same face, but if you look closely, there's like little variations, which is what makes it good. Like the way she adds the shadows or the shape of like the frown or the the one detective Aoto with the blonde hair and the glasses. That's just a fucking character out of Basara. It's like I remember this character type. Basara is kind of a similar personality, a little more easygoing and like gentle.
I've got that visit.
For a lot of bad things that
Yeah,
happen to women.
yeah, it's fine. I've read a shoujo manga before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I story I liked the most was like on the bullet train. He just happens to sit by a woman and figuring stuff out.
Reading the cipher.
Mm-hmm. And then getting the real truth behind what happened to his father. Very interesting. Yeah, I would love to immediately read more of this.
I have the second omnibus. I still need to read it. It takes a while, but yeah, they're a lot of fun. I want to ask what you guys thought, and this is something that I notice is done in Totono is a quirky character, and I feel like some of his character traits might allude to not being neurotypical. And I feel like this is something that gets discussed a lot with Sherlock Holmes, possibly being autistic, or obsessive compulsive, Poirot being obsessive compulsive. It kind of gets taken to the nth degree in a series like Manga, character who is obsessive compulsive. I have mixed feelings about this trope, I guess. Um I feel like it paints non-neurotypical people with a certain brush. But Totono, he has this observant quality about him, right? But also he's a little bit socially weird. And that's something that I was just wondering what you guys thought about it. I like Totono. I like his character. I think he's fun and funny and cute. I don't have a problem with him per se. It was more of a like, is this just like a, you have to have a sleuth who has some kind of quality to them that makes them different from others, right? They have to be observant for, to be successful. But I think in some ways, sometimes that gets conflated with other traits that I have mixed.
It's difficult because it's not spilled out for us, right?
Right. And
This happens a lot in manga that we read, that where we have characters like this, that we recognize them as like possibly autistic.
right, and I also feel like a certain way about drawing that conclusion myself as a reader. Do I have a bias here? Am I making, stereotypical assumptions? Or is this text or subtext? Like
It's difficult because like autism itself is like it's super varied.
right.
So it's not, there we see a character like Totono and we recognize some things that could represent Asperger's, but it's a very wide range, and it's I forget the fucking word because I'm tired.
Spectrum.
It's spectrum. Thank you, Dar. It's a spectrum, and I think I said a similar thing about because when we watched the anime for Ping Pong, my wife was saying, "Oh, Smile he's autistic, right?" Yeah, I was like, they never spell it out. But you could make assumptions, but it's hard to actually make assumptions without the label itself. So we recognize these things as neurodivergent.
Yeah, and you know, there's a part of me that's like, hey, I think it's pretty cool to just kind of quietly include characters with these kinds of diverse traits. And then there's the other part of me that's like, okay, but why don't we say it? You know, why don't we spell it out? What are we afraid of? You know,
Like I said, it's difficult because if you label it, then like you're labeling it for good and for bad.
right? Yes, no, I agree, and like, yeah, there's again, there's a lot of there are a lot of tropes in genre fiction, and mysteries, of course, is genre fiction that that have some interesting origins and complex histories, and I wonder sometimes, like, I don't feel like I've seen people talk about, you know, other than, you know, it's been assumed that Sherlock Holmes you know, is neurodivergent in some way, right? It's assumed that Poirot has, you know, his quirks are also some kind of neurodivergence, and then of course, you know, for better for worse, right? Is it played for laughs? Is it, you know, like my husband? I mentioned Monk. We started watching Monk because I had never seen it before, and I was like, I love mysteries, and this looks kind of charming. And the first episode was very promising, and then we watched the whole first season, and it does kind of become like, okay, this man has a disorder. He's obsessive compulsive and highly anxious. And part of that makes him a very good detective, and part of that makes him a punching bag for everybody else. There's a lot of making fun of his, you know, the things that he deals with, the symptoms of his neurodivergence, or his mental illness. And it's like, I'm interested in this character, and I'm interested in the things that make him special and different. And I also really, really hate watching him get beaten down constantly by the people around him who just don't have the patience or the sympathy, you know?
Or the representation of how like that's an annoyance, right? On
Right.
a
Yeah.
television.
And you know, this came out in what, like 2002 originally. Things have changed. We only watched the first season. My husband's like, I think I'm tapping out. I might watch more of it. But I feel like this, you know, Monk is only one in a long string of, you know, detectives with quote unquote weird traits, character traits. And I think that's a good thing. Again, I think you kind of necessarily need a character who is different from the people around them in order to be a good detective.
Mm-hmm. Totino certainly fits that, but it's
Yes.
I mean, I feel like it's handled well in this manga.
Oh yeah, I definitely
Really well.
I don't have a problem with it so much as I think I'm kind of working through a lot of my thoughts out loud with you guys, basically.
Of course. That's why we're here. You have an opinion about this, Dar?
I've seen a bunch of random episodes of Monk, and it's a kind of a comfy show. I think that all those USA shows were like that.
Yeah.
There was one episode I remember. I thought it was kind of weird at the time. I think it's weirder now that it was about him finally taking meds because one of those character traits he doesn't like foreign chemicals in his bodies. It freaks him out. But somebody finally convinces him. Actually, I think the vision of his dead wife finally convinces him to like take meds, and he's completely cured. He's really outgoing. He's like picking up sandwiches from the ground and taking bites from it and weird shit like that.
It's fucking one extreme to another.
Yeah, and all the characters were like, "Monk, you gotta get out those meds. This isn't you." And it's just kind of like it's just a television episode for comedy, I think. But it was like a really weird message, and it's just like it just seemed like anti-treatment,
Yeah.
anti like
Again, a show from
seeking,
2002.
yeah, seeking help or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, there's an episode in the first season where, the psychiatrist is the murderer, right? We always have one of those. And it's the same deal. I'm like, okay, like this is a big trope in a lot of murder mysteries, is like, oh, the person who fucks with your brain is the one who's killing people and they're controlling you because they can fuck with your brain. And I'm like, I don't like this message. Like, I see how it's kind of a sexy answer to the question of who did the murder, but also like, let's not demonize getting healthcare, like mental health care.
Mhm.
So yeah, there's a few things like that. There were also in the first season, again, the first episode was really promising, and then like one right after another, like the villain in one of them or the murderer or whatever was like, not only this, he was like morbidly obese. He was like 800 pounds. I'm like, cool. So we're gonna start with like, we're gonna fat shame. There was um there was an episode. Oh, there's an episode where a group of, like, Hispanic maids at a hotel did the murder.
Yes, I see that one actually.
Yeah,
Yes.
and,
Yeah.
like, it was kind of a cool episode, but it was also a little bit like, "Okay, they're the only people of color in this episode, though." Like,
Yeah.
you know? Uh, it's like, there's, like, a whole like, I'm like, there's, like, one episode where, like, there's carnies, I'm like, "Co like, you're, like, hitting a card, like, bad trope in a murder mystery," you know? Um I don't know, it's fun. Tony Shalhoub is very good. He's very funny.
Yes.
I like him very much, and that's why I'm intrigued by this at all. And this has nothing to do with don't call it mystery anymore, but
No.
just my feelings about mystery fiction, and they're complicated.
But like I said in the beginning that like this character is kind of like Sherlock without the asshole stuff,
Yes.
and I I really feel that where like one of the popular interpretations of Sherlock, and I never read the actual like Arthur Conan books, Arthur Conan Doyle books, so I can assume it's accurate. Is that he's really abrasive and he's just like he's really dismissive at people, and
Yes.
he's like intensely loves a handful of people, um, but like he's kind of uncharitable for most other people. The way he perceives them, talks about them, and just treats them. All that stuff is absent here, um, which allows the book to just be enjoyable, really. And I think one of the we're kind of talking about it, but one of the weird things about um, the
Kotono?
well, no, just the whole trope of having like an autistic detective is the weird byproduct or the weird um, expectation that if you're autistic, you got to be like hyper talented at something,
Right. Yeah.
um, which is one of those like flattering stereotypes, I guess you could call it, but it's still like a stereotype, and it still just causes a lot of you know bad
Well,
feelings.
it's like the stereotype that East Asian people are all smart, right? Like
Yeah,
there's problems here.
it's
I see you're trying to give a compliment, but also this is not this is not helpful.
it sets up just bad expectations and bad societal expectations. So yeah, it's a thing. Not as bad as we were just describing with Monk, which is kind of a mess. Monk is a pretty fun show, but I think you really have to turn off any of your like shields and uh modern like conscious brains looking at it. But
Some pretty amazing early aughts fashion going on.
um, but yeah, I mean, like I just feel like the character is pretty straightforward in this one. They don't show him doing anything extremely weird. He's just a little bit off. And he's like matter of fact, but in a gentle way. It's kind of all his like potential autism kind of spectrum stuff being shown here. Um, I have on screen, by the way, the quote unquote love interest.
Gay,
Show.
Yeah, he
gay.
he specifically is like, I'm not really interested in the women. Never really been, They're like, what about men? Like, not really interested in men either. Although there is this one guy I've been thinking about. It's like, oh, really? Okay.
Yep. Oh, I see you. I see you, Yumi Tamara. I got you. You've been reading some BL. I'm okay with that. Yeah, this guy was introduced, and I was like, "Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go, buckle up." He's not only a love interest, he's like a complicated love interest.
Yeah.
He's Moriarty.
He's Moriarty. Yep.
But also, yeah, he's not Moriarty where he's like fucking
No.
like skinning people alive and shit, or like all the like weird.
But he does get revenge at the end of that story.
Yep.
And he did send a fucking like chopped off arm to fucking Totono.
Delicious.
Maybe he did.
Ooh,
We think that he did. I mean,
shit, I gotta read more.
I don't know. I'm just saying. I've read a lot of mystery fiction, you guys. It could be anybody, really.
That Buster was very twisty, so.
I wonder how long Yumi Tamura spends drawing Totono's hair in every like panel.
She just gets a brush, just a blob of ink.
That's the assistants. It's like the actual like ink works to get all the outside, strands of hair.
No. This is what she takes her brush, goes all on the outside. No, I don't know. His hair is amazing. I love it. Yeah, I really like Totono. He's we were talking about character types earlier when we were talking about Tyler's email, and he's one of my favorite kinds, kind of like a gentle and smart kind of weirdo. Yeah, I like him.
He's a good character, which makes this a good mystery book. I don't care about like the depth of the mystery. I just care about the characters. So it's nice to read a story about someone who is. Sorry, Dar, you were saying.
No, I was just saying. I liked it. It's a good book.
I have a comment from Seamus though. Meh.
Meh.
That doesn't surprise me.
There's not enough murder happening here, even though this is a murder mystery book.
There's some murders.
But not enough for Seamus.
Well, like we were saying, it's kind of a comfortable read. It's not like really super high stakes, terrible death, gore,
Yeah.
scandal, libel,
Mm-hmm.
etc. I was trying to think of another terrible thing, and my brain was like, let's not go too far here.
All right, let's move along from this book. Dar, would you want to read more? Don't call it mystery.
Yeah, I struggle with saying yes just because it is wordy and the omnibuses are big. But if I was in the habit of reading more, then yes. Kind of like a
Very
tentative
nice.
yes.
It's a definite yes for me. Morgana, it's already yes for you. This was one of your best books from last year.
Yep, I've got the second omnibus sitting on top of my to be read shelf in my bedroom. So,
all right, let's move along to a different book. Morgana, I'll let you pick. Which one should we talk about next?
well, let's do Steel of the Celestial Shadows, since that's another creator we've read before.
Okay. Steel of Celestial Shadows is a manga by Daruma Matsuda. We know Matsuda from her series Kasane, one of the best retrospectives we've ever done, because I hadn't read it before. So it was just a wild ride throughout the whole thing. Ups and downs. Japanese title is Taiyo to Tsuki no Hagane. I really like the English title, Steel of Celestial Shadows. So good. It started in 2020, so more recent, and it runs in Big Comic Superior magazine, put out by Shogakukan. It's the same magazine that has Mobile Suit Gundam Thunderbolt and Inio Asano's current manga.
Whatever that asshole's doing. Sorry, Inio Asano, I don't actually think you're an asshole.
He's getting ready for those Dead Demons Dead Destruction movies that are coming out. But anyway, Daruma Matsuda has this series going through. This is put out in English through Viz. Let's look at the localization team. Translation done by Caleb Cook. Touch-up art and lettering by Steve Dutro. Design Sean Carrico. Editor Mike Montesa. Let's read the copy on Viz. It is said that a samurai's spirit rests in their sword. And Konosuke can't even pick one up thanks to a cruel curse that repels anything made of metal that gets near him. Destitute and hopeless, he decides to end it all. But when a beautiful and mysterious woman saves his life and his soul, it is the beginning of Ryudo's journey into a strange world of magic that exists a step away from his own. So yeah, it's Daruma Matsuda decided to go into a samurai story with mystical powers. Morgana, what did you think of Steel of the Celestial Shadows?
I had forgotten how weird her artwork is. That's a compliment. I mean, she has this tendency to draw really large mouths. I'd kind of forgotten about. And and then very beautiful women too. I don't know what the fuck is going on in this book. I mean, like, I vaguely understand what's going on. I had not read anything about it. I did not read the copy. I just kind of went in completely blind. And the first time a sword kind of bent out of its way in front of him, I was like, oh, wait, what? This is not what I expected. But also, like, I feel like that would be an asset as a samurai. Personally, I'd be like, that's right, you can't kill me because you can't get your blade in me. Sucks to be you. So his, like, I mean, I get it. I know there's a lot of, like, Bushido feelings and shit like that, but I'm like, I feel like your hangups are a personal issue that you really need to work on, because it could be worse, my friend.
I mean, there's the flashback that showed how
Yes.
like it's why his mom died and he wasn't able to protect her. So,
but he could have just stood in front of the damn sword and it wouldn't have hit her. But yes, I mean, I'm not victim blaming here. But I'm, I have sympathy for this struggle, and I like the romance, such as it is, between him and this mysterious Tsuki. I also am kind of waiting for the other shoe to drop and for her to be like a kitsune or something. She's something. She's got something going on. I know that much. But I really feel like this volume ended and gave me a whole lot more questions than answers, which is not necessarily a bad thing. But I remember kind of now vaguely feeling like with Kasane also, like, we'd read a whole volume of something, I'd be like, did anything happen? I don't really what? So I didn't dislike it. I'm actually honestly not sure what to feel about it, because I don't know. I feel like I don't know what's going on. If that makes sense. I do know what's going on in a vague sense, but I also just don't really know what to expect. I feel like at the beginning I was sold a very straightforward, here's an Edo era story about a useless samurai, and then by the end I was like, okay, now there's magic. I don't we took a left turn somewhere, and I feel like I'm missing something.
it's a Samurai Magneto origin story, Morgana.
Yeah. Except instead of attracting metal, he's deflecting it.
Yeah, let's start at Dark Fox first before I start talking more.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I think the art's the best thing in this book. Um, in the very
Something we said
beginning,
about Kasane, yep,
in the
as
very
well.
beginning, like it's just a lot of texture to his grimy household, and it sets up a good contrast for later when it gets cleaned up. Um, but it's just like it. You could see like the lines of worry and the years of just like wallow and self doubt on this guy's face. He's really just like a fucking self sorry kind of guy. In good ways and bad ways. Like I think he is an interesting character, but there is an element of him that's like dude, he just like got this hot wife out of nowhere, bro. Like get in the Evangelion pilot, stop crying. You know, it's okay.
Right?
Like there is that kind of a little, kind of predictable storytelling, but predictable in a way that's not like necessarily bad. But there is kind of the upswing in the story where he gets a little bit of his groove back because he defeats another warrior using sticks. He it's kind of an affirmation that like he actually is a good fighter or would be a good fighter if he could use a sword. And he kind of gets down with the wife. Good for him. Congrats on the sex.
Good for
Um,
her.
yeah.
Jeez. Hanging around for like a month and a half with nothing. She's like, come on, dude.
um, and 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 uh, and then like kind of tragedy strikes after that kind of thing, which you know something bad always happens when something good is happening, or something bad always follows when something good is happening in the story, right? I can there's clearly kind of like like a whole understory happening that it's gonna be unveiling. I don't know. I just totally expect it to be a pretty straightforward battle stuff. Hopefully, I'm wrong and just like more character stuff with the battle stuff. But I think at the end, it's implied that he uh, throws Neptic in the chat says, I feel like he was going to be a Kendo master before he revealed the lake scene. Yeah. Um, I think at the very end, it's implied that he throws metal. He uses his power to throw metal at the water bender, basically. Um, yeah, he's a metal bender. Um, yeah, I liked it. I really feel like just the art carries this book. The story is interesting enough, and the character is interesting enough. But it's just you could see kind of like the wear and tear on the world and the people, the way it's drawn, and like the women have like these really long foxy faces, like big smiles and big eyes that very kasane looking, which is cool.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely agree. The art is the strength, and yeah, that was the case with Kazane too. And Kazane was interesting, and this is also interesting, but I don't know that this story would work for me if the art was crap, right? Like it wouldn't. Which I mean, I wouldn't read most things if the art was crap.
Whereas Kasane had a really interesting hook. Kasane's story was kind of layered and just the thoughts of like beauty and somebody who is ugly or thinks they're ugly or society thinks they're ugly, but you may not, and kind of like um the lengths that they will go just for beauty. There was a lot more to chew on in Kasane with just a story.
Hmm.
It wears very thin by the end, especially when it starts doing the flashback stuff. But
Oh,
yeah, this book has less going on at the start than Kasane, so that's a negative I'll say about the book. But just judging it on its own merits, I think, like I said, I think it is interesting enough. I do like it.
Interesting.
Interesting, eh?
Interesting. I I talked about this manga when it started. I was like, "Oh, new manga by Daruma Matsuda," and I've been trying to kind of follow it. I don't read um big comic monthly release. I think it's either that, it might be bi-monthly, but anyway, it's a slower release schedule. So sometimes, like, when there's a new chapter, I'm like, what the fuck was happening? I don't remember. And this is not so much an issue for this first volume, but as you keep reading this, I reread a couple volumes of this just to like remind myself. My issue with Daruma Matsuda doing Steel of the Celestial Shadows is the pacing is hard.
Yeah, I feel like pacing was an issue we had with Kazane too. It's been a while since we read it, but
yeah, it's very slow in a lot of ways. Like, things are happening, but they're not really advancing the plot. So the fact that it takes like 3/4 of this book for him to finally like have sex with Tsuki and come to an understanding, like that's a little too long. And then it finally introduced like the supernatural element of her being like taken away by the waterbender or whatever. As the story goes along, like in volume 2, there's a new character introduced, and you spend like way too long, in my opinion, with this character, like learning about them before it comes back to the main plot of Konosuke.
Sounds like Kasane.
Yeah, and like this just kind of continues throughout Steel of Celestial Shadows. Even when Konosuke goes up against like the next adversary, we need to take like several chapters to talk about how sad the backstory of the villain, this antagonist, is. And again, it just kills the like momentum of the plot and the story. But the art is all so good.
I know.
So it's like somehow Daruma Matsuda is able to carry on her art alone. But yeah, as trying to read through like a story, it can be very frustrating. Like, I feel like it's like advance the plot a little, like going up a couple steps of stairs, and then like going all the way to the other side of the building before you keep going up. And each building floor that you're traveling across is like, there's a lot of shit happening here. But I had to like take a big walk around until I get back to the main stairs to keep going up the plot little by little.
I love this analogy.
It's yeah, I think this is I would rather tell someone to read Kasane, because as Dar said, Kasane has a way better story hook at the beginning. And I know Darfox just made a sound about that because we know Kasane too. Like, it's a strong start, but
it's got its flaws. It becomes a bit of a slog. I mean, like I said, like, yeah, pacing.
But this one starts as a slog.
Yeah, a little bit. Well, and and again, I there are elements of it that I really like. I like this kind of, I would be fine with this as it is if the story was just about this relationship. If this was a romance and it was just about the relationship between Konosuke and Tsuki, like, that would be fine. The pacing would be fine. But there is this other element here that I've been, again, like for most of the manga, I'm waiting for that shoe to drop, right?
And we didn't even get to it.
No.
Because it's like a mystery.
I still don't know what the deal is with Tsuki.
And you're not going to get that till like volume 3-ish.
That's such bullshit. You guys, that's such bullshit.
You got too much stuff going on for this pace.
But the art is so good.
So pretty. I love the when the first time the sword bends out of his way and just hits the samurai in the forehead, and I was, because it's really unexpected, and then it's also really comedic. I love that shit.
Sticks his tongue out at the second sword.
That we have some humor here. I feel like Kazane was really dark. There were moments of levity, but it was really dark. It is nice to have that kind of, he's a little bit pathetic, but there's some humor, in that too. It's not all terrible, sad, terrible me. Everything's awful.
I'm surprised though, because there is a lot of sad me. It's terrible, sad man. So
yes, there is. He's not as She must just like these pathetic characters because, in Kasane is the same thing. You had this very sad character because she was ugly, which is a whole we've unpacked that suitcase already.
I thought you were talking about whatchamacallit, Rat McGee or whatever the
Oh.
fuck Darfuck called.
There's also him.
Ratface McGee, yeah.
No. I mean Kasane herself.
Right.
She had a whole, she had some issues.
But she had drive to be
Yes.
bad,
Yeah.
do
Well,
bad things,
well,
and that was
so
interesting. Damn it!
it was interesting, but she was not a necessarily likable person. Whereas Konosuke, I'm like, come on, buddy, like it's okay, this isn't that bad. I kind of like I feel sorry for him. I actually do feel like he could, he's not an unlikable person.
Well, get ready for every character, whether it's like a side character or a antagonist character, to have a sad sack story. Every single one.
The world is a sad, sad place,
It's a
Takazu.
sad world.
I mean, we haven't even talked about Full Night yet, so. But there we go. Yeah, I think that's my biggest complaint. It's just, I want the story to get to the story, but it takes so long. There's like 8 volumes or 9 volumes of this out in Japan, and like, it's just. I don't know what else to say, Dar, about Steel Celestial Shadows.
There's not much more to say. Check out these crazy eyes. They're bugging out.
I mean, wonderful localization by Caleb Cook. It reads perfectly for like both representing the era and readability. But yeah, even though I've read more of this, I don't know if I want to read more of this.
If you had the opportunity to unread it, you might. Damn, that's sad.
It's sad for something by Daruma Matsuda and Kasane, which I still hold in pretty high regard, despite like the issues.
I feel like I'm higher on you on this one. I hear what you're saying about the pacing, but like, I don't know. I was generally okay with the pacing in this first volume. I don't know how long I will be okay with that, but
so you'd be willing to read another volume of this at least?
Yeah. Even if I'm on my own time.
What about you, Morgana?
I don't know. I wanted to read another one to figure out what the fuck is going on, but we still don't find out what the fuck is going on in the second volume, it sounds like. So, I could be convinced to read more. I'm not gonna work on this on my own ever. There are too many other things to read that give me some goddamn answers.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't, I'm not gonna rush for it. But if we all wanted to read more of it, I would probably try it again.
Well, I have Seamus's review of Steel Celestial Shadows, and that is a meh.
Got a way with words, that Seamus.
He does. All right, let us move along to our final book in this triple dip. We are talking about Full Night. Full Night is a manga by Kasumi Yasuda. It also runs in Big Comic Superior magazine alongside Steel Celestial Shadows.
Very different books. Wow.
This is a let's see, the first volume has not come out in English, but if you have a subscription, a Viz subscription, you can read the chapters. Now the thing is, it has chapters 1 through 35, and then it's missing the chapters after that, up till 64 to the newest chapter 70. They are working on backfilling those. Localization is kind of all over the place because this is off of subscription app. For the first chapter, it says translation done by Casey Lowe and lettering by Sinir Aharon. But by the time you get to chapter 5, it says translation and lettering done by the Corporation of Shogakukan Asia. And with the newest chapter, it's back to Casey Lowe and Sinir Aaron lettering it. I hope Casey Lowe and Snare Aaron will be the ones doing the work on the volume release. Because the chapters done by Corporation of Shogakukan Asia are not great. They're pretty bad.
The corpos are bad translators.
Well, there were some. I wasn't sure if I was just reading it wrong, but there were some bubbles in the wrong, like some text in the wrong bubbles, right? Like,
Yeah.
okay, that wasn't just me.
This is out. The first volume consists of chapters 1 through 8, which is what we read. I was kind of just interested, so like I was skimming through the other chapters. I got to a part where, when I say the word tuition, what does that mean to you? Darfox, what does tuition mean?
It means you're paying for school.
Right. I think most people would think that. But it was used in the term of, oh, you're getting tuition, as in you're being taught. Like a tutor or cram school. And I looked this up. This is an actual definition. However, I've never seen it used in that context.
Yeah, that sounds like something that is technically correct and absolutely not colloquially used at all.
Exactly. I thought I was reading it wrong until I realized what they were trying to say. And then I looked it up and I was like, technically this is correct.
I think that still qualifies as bad translation stamp.
Yeah.
Tutelage. They should have used tutelage.
Or a tutor, cram school,
an education.
Anything else that explains that, yeah, this character is getting extra studies outside of regular school. Pay for your tuition 5 times a week. And I was like, what? What is this? Sorry. Anyway, so like what I'm trying to say is the quality of like the translation and localization here on Fool Knight is kind of all over the place based on who handled it, which might have affected our reading experience as well. But yeah, is there a copy for this? Oh, there is. On the Viz website for the upcoming release of Fool Knight Volume 1. This comes out, Volume 1 will come out in June. Kamiya is at the end of his rope. His mother is ill, and his job barely pays for her medication, much less food. With few options left, he considers the life-changing process of transfloration. Ready to give his body up for a payday, Kamiya is about to explore the limits of society's waning humanity. That's pretty good copy, but it doesn't really explain the fact that Fool Knight is a dystopian future manga. It takes place in a world where the sun has been blacked out by clouds, and it's killed all natural plant life on Earth. So for humanity to survive, they came up with this process called transfloration. You change a human body into a plant, and the plant grows based off the human body and doesn't need that many nutrients or sunlight or anything to grow and provide oxygen to this world. It's a fucked up world. It's a really fucked up dystopia society. What did they say? It's like 2,300 or something?
22 something, I think.
Yeah, super.
22.
Yeah. And yeah, so we have our main character, Kamiya, and yeah, he's in a shitty place. He doesn't have any money, and he ends up taking the transfloration surgery done by his childhood friend, who works at like the Center for Transfloration. What was her name? Terrible at names. Also, I read this first, so now I remember it the worst.
Yeah, same.
Yomiko. Kamiya and Yomiko. Anyway, what happens is Kamiya, he needs money. If you take the transfloration, you receive 10 million yen from the government as a subsidiary. And in 2 years, you transform into a plant. So you use that money to live a comfortable life. It's a procedure that's usually like, you can only have it if you're like dying or like terminally ill or something. But Kamiya takes it, and he gains the ability to speak to the other. What do they call it? Soul flora? There's a lot of terms in this.
Yeah, there's a lot of soul flora, I think.
Yeah, and in volume 1, or the chapters of volume 1, he ends up teaming up with Yomiko to use that ability to speak to the plants now, which has never happened before, to help a woman find her. And that's the chapters we read. Let's start with Darfox.
Hi.
What did you think of Fool Knight?
I thought it was an epic action adventure filled with drama.
I think you read
No.
something else.
No, I liked it quite a bit. I think it's a interesting idea. Definitely body of horror. Reminds me of a Batman the Anime Series episode where Alfred goes to like a spa, and I think it must have been a Poison Ivy episode. But like if you eat the little crackers in the spa and you dip in the little water, you turn it into a freaking tree. Yeah, well, Poison Ivy was like collecting rich people trees. And it was kind of freaky.
Sounds good to me.
It was kind of freaky when I was a kid. um, and it kind of reminds me of that. Yeah, like I have it on the the opening splash page with the title of the manga, and it's just kind of sells it pretty well. Where these trees and vines along like this random road are just people, and it's pretty normal for like society. It's like an accepted thing. So horrific to the viewer, but not horrific to anybody else. Is like horrific irony or something. But like, yeah, like the main character is special, which is obviously like a thing that happens in a lot of these books. But the way he's special is in that it's at least to interesting stuff where he can now hear or feel kind of like the echoes of the people who are trees, or at least people who are recently trees. If they've been trees too long, it seems like whatever was human about them is gone, which is like interesting in that like there's definitely like existential horror if you think about it a lot, because the idea of you being conscious as a tree might be horrific to some people because you're just like literally trapped and you can't move or you could barely move for a long time. And the series touches on that a little bit in the beginning. It kind of like mentions it. I wonder if I can only assume it's gonna delve into it further, or he's gonna come across people who are just like super embittered at their trees or something like that. Angry fauna or flora. Which one's flora must be
Flora, yeah.
yes, angry flora all over the place. But yeah, I enjoyed. Um, Speaking of like victim blaming or manga that sometimes is kind of apologetic. or too sympathetic to like abusers. I I was afraid this was gonna do this in this manga where this girl who was abused by her dad to become a piano player. I you could feel like they really wanted to like end with like, well, he made me the great piano player I am today, but it didn't do that. It really felt like it was gonna do that for a minute. I was like, what am I reading right now? But like it they did not relent, and she was like, I'm not gonna forgive my dad for being like an asshole and beating me because I couldn't play piano. And I mean beating her. It's not like he will slap her wrist or something like that, or just be like really mean. Like we're talking about like grab her by the scruff of her shirt and like punch her in the face. Like it's like really terrible stuff. Um, and I'm glad the book didn't pull any funny business with that. And it's
Yeah. I
yeah.
also appreciated that they acknowledged that their relationship, any relationship like that, is complicated, right? Because she does think about the good things too, and that's why so many people who are abused have such a complicated relationship with their abuser, right? There, it's not all bad all the time. Um, so yes, I was also like, I don't know, like this is pretty bad stuff. It's not like just like a little bit of, you know, he wasn't just like a tough disciplinarian. He was like a little bit crazy. Um,
Yeah.
but so it acknowledges that her feelings are complicated while also being like, yeah, but I also didn't deserve that, so I'm not gonna forgive you anyway.
And he had literally no justification for it. Like whatever he thought in his brain he was doing was nonsense. Um, yeah, I think it's interesting world. Main character is like he's okay. He's not like super interesting, but like he's in an interesting situation so far. I think he's done relatable stuff. Um, and um, I think it's a strong start.
All right. Before I go to Morgana, I do have a comment from Seamus. Out of the three, Full Night was interesting. Very clear Chainsaw Man inspiration with the job. Like the art style. He said this is the Floronic Boy.
I thought it was interesting after reading it because I think I see what he's saying, but it didn't really come off to me as a big Chainsaw Man clone. He is part plant in the way that Denji's uh
Demon.
part demon. Thank you.
Maybe kind of the similar situation he is in that first chapter where he has no money
Yes,
and
there's
he's
definitely
suffering
that,
so much. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
he's now like under under the thumb of whatever government organization that is.
Yeah, I definitely saw the Chainsaw Man kind of link there, or similarity. I also, when I was describing to my husband what I was reading this week, and I was like, yeah, so these people, they plant seeds in themselves, and then the seeds eat their souls, and they turn into plants, and then he goes, are they also pardoned if they find the elixir of life, or
Hell's Paradise.
yeah, I was like, oh yeah, there is definitely kind of a similar. It's not the same like at all, but also like visually, like, as these people are turning into plants, I'm like, "Yeah, I can kinda I kinda see that line of similarity also."
There's a new Weekly Shonen Jump manga series called Dear Anome, which is also about going to an island and finding the research, and you'll get a bunch of money. And the island is
Hmm.
filled with it's like there's a plant person here. So
Hmm.
I know, right?
I wanna say that if I was dying, and I mean, like, terminally ill, like, I'm gonna be hooked up to a machine for the rest of my technical life, but I'm not gonna have any brain power left or anything like that, turn me into a fucking plant. Absolutely. This sounds great. I do think this dystopian future presented in Fool Night is very much like taking advantage of the sick and dying in a way that I that is not okay. But like if this was presented to me as like or to my family, like my loved ones is like, well, mom is going to be hooked up to this machine until she dies physically. You could choose to pull the plug, or you could put her, you could turn her into a plant. I really hope my family turns me into a plant. Like, sounds great. That said, yeah, there's definitely the kind of horror part of the, your consciousness stuck in a plant and you can't do anything, and what do you. So the concept is it's the high concept, very intriguing, and I do really like the artwork too. Uh, yeah, I'm very curious about this one. There's a lot of cool stuff going on. Kamiya is a little bit uncharismatic right now as a protagonist, just very desperate. I almost feel like Yomiko is the protagonist in some ways. She's like much more headstrong and has like dreams and goals and direction. But maybe that's because I'm thinking about this like a shonen series when that's not really entirely true or fair. It's not like a typical um, one of those. So
I'm surprised. It sounds like you liked it, Morgana.
yeah, I liked it. You didn't think I would?
I wasn't sure because between Steel of Celestial Shadows and Full Night is definitely like seinen.
Yeah.
It's a darker setting and tone and darker story.
Yeah, I like that though. I mean like darkness isn't the issue. It's like how much testosterone is fueling the story is usually my issue with seinen stuff. And I don't feel like this. I feel like this is an interesting science fiction concept that I'm intrigued by, and I like the way it's been handling the story so far. Like Dar was saying, I like the way it handled the story of abuse. I like the way it kind of has set up this world that is like extraordinarily out of touch. Like you have Yomiko who works for the government who makes like tons of money and is dropping, whatever it was, 80,000 yen on dinner, and to
Kamiya.
Kamiya, I mean that's most of his paycheck in a month. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, yeah, that's I see where there are opportunities here to kind of criticize the system, which I am always fond of, and I think is a kind of an important staple of science fiction, to kind of call out the perceived norms, especially in a dystopia. So yeah, no, I liked it. I do like dystopian fiction. I uh, read a lot less of it than I used to because I feel like I might be living in a dystopia. So, but this is, again, kind of high concept. We're not turning people into plants yet. So, uh, I'm still here for now with it.
Well, I think when the first volume of this came out, I read it and I liked it, but I wasn't sure where it was going. And I would see other chapters whenever I would read Big Comic Superior, but it was confusing. Like I was like, I don't know what's happening. I did take this opportunity this week to look at the chapters available here on the vid subscription. I already mentioned my issues with the localization, so hopefully those will be fixed for the volume release. But just in general with the story-wise, you would think at the end of volume 1, this is going to be a story of Kamiya using his soul, his communication ability with the soul flora to solve like mysteries and like do these morality plays or whatever, Morgana. But it's not the case.
Huh.
It gets way more into, let's talk about this dystopian society we've set up. And a big case of part of the society that is anti transfloration coming into, butting heads with like the Florization Center and revealing more dark things about this society. And so, do you guys both remember when we were talking about Heavenly Delusion and I was hinting at something that is not great to read in that?
No.
Okay. At the time, the Heavenly Delusion anime was happening, so I didn't want to give spoilers about like where the story goes.
Wait, and I'm remembering more now, I think.
Okay. I feel like Seamus. What did Seamus say about isekai? The longer an isekai goes, eventually you're gonna hit slavery. Something like that. He makes a joke about that. With dystopian fiction, science fiction, sooner or later you're gonna hit a point where you're gonna have like bad things happen to young female characters.
Oh, sure.
In Heavenly Fiction, Heavenly Delusion, we meet like underage sex workers, and there's a storyline later about like a young girl who was being molested and accused somebody else, like the wrong person, and now she's on a revenge to go find the molester and kill him. Like I understand because like the idea is society has broken down. You're in a dystopia. These things end up happening, but it's still not pleasant to read about. And Full Night will eventually reach that point as well.
Y'all made me read Berserk. I don't feel like you got a leg to stand on.
That's true. That's true. Compared to that,
Like, I mean, I don't enjoy reading that either. Certainly, but listen, it happens in fiction. It happens in reality.
it does happen in reality too, which is very upsetting.
Which again is part of the reason I read less dystopian fiction than I did as a teenager.
And I will say, it took a while for it to happen in Full Night, but they eventually explore a slum area where like people have like lost. It would have been where Kamiya ended up if he like didn't like end up doing the transfloration surgery and finding his way into some money. And the slums are fucked, as you might expect in a dystopian society. It ends up tying it ties with the overall like big narrative, and I think that big narrative is very interesting. But you have to be ready for that kind of fucked up shit in this manga.
Not a comfy read.
Yeah, I mean that should be kind of obvious from this first volume too.
Oh yeah.
Like Kamiya's situation is so fucked in that first chapter.
Yeah, I don't know if I want you to tell me this or not, but what's up with his mom? Does that ever come back?
Is it just?
It does.
Is it
It
just
does a little.
Alzheimer's?
It's not. I don't remember if it's explained. I don't think it was mentioned in any of the chapters that I saw, but yeah, I think it gets kind of partially dropped, even though they do give an explanation about what happens. But it doesn't become a focus, Morgana. He's not gonna have to constantly go back and like face off with a mom.
I was
just eventually just kind of go on.
Yeah, I was just kind of curious. Like, obviously she was very ill. Did he like abandon her, or did she die, or did he? I don't know. Like, I was a little curious about that because she didn't kind of get mentioned again.
I think this also happens with like some flashbacks about Yomiko, but I think both their parents are just like bad in different ways. Either through like society or like situations, they were abusive in some way or form.
Well, like their teacher was saying, the constant darkness makes everybody messed up.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that's a thing, here in the frigid north where I live, it's dark. During the we're finally getting like it's staying light out until like 6 p.m. We're all like, woo! My mental health is so much better now.
Don't they say that about people who have to live up in Alaska?
Yeah, it gets rough because they have, like, 24-hour darkness in the winter and 24-hour light in the
I got a
summer.
visitor.
Oh, kitty cam.
Kitty!
Kitty cam. Oh, we don't need to talk about dark, fucked up dystopian society anymore. Let's just talk about that kitty.
He wants to leave, but I'm about to.
That's what they need more of in Full Night, pet cats. And then
Oh,
things would be
in
better.
this society they don't even have pets.
Probably don't have animals, there's, like, no oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
Look at that kitty.
Yeah, but
Such a good kitty.
thematically, Full Night, it explores more of like the society like. When you hear the science fiction concept of like people turning into plants to keep society going, you start asking questions like, how does this work? And Full Night does answer those, and it's usually fucked up and depressing.
Yeah, I'm kinda curious what kind of plants they're growing that are surviving in no light. I mean, there are low light plants, but not no light plants, I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, very curious, about a lot of that sci-fi stuff. So I'm pretty intrigued by this series.
That's great. It's drawn really well. Like we all mentioned,
Yeah.
the art's very nice and distinct. The character work is distinct.
Love that, and the panels that, Dar has pulled up on YouTube are great. That, like, branch extending from Kamiya's abdomen.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the placement of those panels, too.
There was an earlier chapter when he's taking a test from the section chief or whatever, and he's like concentrate, and it's like a 2-page spread of him looking at a plant, and then on the next 2-page spread, his head is turned into like the inner ear.
Yes, yes.
Good
It
art there.
reminded me of both Uzumaki and also Parasite.
Yeah, Full Night is a very solid, good seinen series, but I just want to give a warning to people who might be interested. The dystopia is dark.
And water is wet.
And there you go. And Morgan, it sounds like you would be interested in reading more.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And you can on the app. Just ignore the bad localization, like tuition.
Yeah.
Dar, would you be interested in reading past the 8 chapters you did this first volume?
Yes.
Maybe we should add this to our Twipple Dip rotation, because we were talking about dropping Die Dark.
We want to drop Diet Arc over this, though.
Hmm.
I think yes. I think you do Chainsaw Man, Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko, and you do this. I think that's
one
the
of these
play.
things is not like the other. If you put Chainsaw Man, Full Night, and Die Dark all together, you look at those and go, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Then we got Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko in there, like.
But before we're doing Chainsaw Man, Die Dark, and Yokohama Kaidashi Kiko.
Right,
so.
right. But and still the jingle remains.
The comparison of Chainsaw Man Part 2 to Full Night might be interesting, so we might do this in the future. Possibility. But yeah, there you go. That is our third book, Full Night. And we have come to the end of this triple dip. Pretty good, because we've been talking for a while. At the end of triple dips, we usually rank what our favorite is. I'm going to throw to Morgana first. What is your ranking?
Don't Call It Mystery first, then Full Night, then Steel of Celestial Shadows. I still think there's something going for Steel of Celestial Shadows, but in terms of it, the art alone could not carry it, whereas the other two have both excellent art and a fun story to keep me engaged. I was just confused by Steel the Celestial Shadows, so
I think I agree with your ranking. I really like Don't Call It Mystery. And I like Full Night. And I think I have turned a negative taste toward Steel Celestial Shadows now. It might fall under the maybe I'll check it out when it ends and go back and see. Darfox, what is your ranking?
This is kind of hard. I might have to be a renegade here.
Darfox doesn't like reading, so Don't Call It Mysteries out.
I might have to be the nail that sticks out and gets hammered down. If you know what I mean.
Are you putting Steel Celestial Shadows first?
Mayhaps I am.
Oh
he's
man.
not.
I don't. Honestly, it's a toss up between Steel and Full Night. I think I like the art enough that it makes it a tough call. But I guess I'll pull Full Night on top. Steel, and I'm sorry, I'll put Don't Call It Mystery
Boo.
at the end. I'm sorry.
Boo.
It's last but not least. Also, I just realized that I incorrectly named it in all the stream. It is Don't Call It Mystery, right? I'll put Don't Call It.
Don't call it a mystery.
Yeah. So apologies for that as well.
I mean, you said you liked all three, so I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I really didn't see the pacing issues as harsh as you did. I believe you that it gets
It's
worse.
probably because I've seen past Volume 1.
Yeah,
which
is
why
I believe it gets worse.
Yeah. Or that it doesn't improve or whatever.
Maybe just like me, the main character of Steel is an honorable samurai who can't do the things he needs to do, Maybe he and I have a lot in common.
What is this bit? Where's this going?
I don't know. Let me wrap it up. Let's go.
We are wrapping up. Okay. So there you go. Let's go ahead and end this episode. I want to thank Darfox and Morgana for joining me. Shout out to people who are in chat, like Neptic. If you enjoyed Manga Machinations, make sure you subscribe to us, review us, rate us. Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you can find us. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where we live stream our recordings, youtube.com/MangaMachTV. Also check out our website, mangamachinations.com. Our Tumblr is mangamachinations.tumblr.com. If you want to support our podcast, you can buy us a coffee. Head over to ko-fi.com/mangamac and buy us a coffee. If you want to talk to us, you can join our Discord server. Head over to discord.me/mangamac. We're still playing Mahjong every Monday, so come join us for Mahjong Machination Mondays. Send us emails. Send them over to mangamachinations@gmail.com. And follow us on social media at Manga Mac Podcast. That's Manga MAC Podcast. That's for Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, Threads, everything else. And you can also follow my personal social media at DocZoo. Follow Darfox at Darfox8. And follow Morgana at Morgana Relina. Alright, everybody. Thank you so much for listening to us this week. Bye-bye.